you, and I'd like to request everyone silence their cell phones and any other electronic devices. It's not to be an interruption to the meeting, and I thank you for your indulgence. And we'll move on to roll call and ask everyone to please sign in. Okay, thank you. And I'd like to welcome all of the visitors that we have with us this evening, even the viewing audience, and thank you for your interest in county government. And we'll move on to public comment. Item number 7, 15-minute public comment. No one has reached out to me to provide public comment. And we'll move on to educational presentation and/or reports. Any standing committee chairs or designees? Any reports by standing committee chairs or designees? Okay, we see none. We'll move on to consent agenda. Items C9 through items C14A1. Supervisor Sandalski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I had to ask Corp Counsel Puner about it, but I'd like to get a separate, get 12A separated, get a separate vote for the chair and the vice chair.
First motion would be to motion just to, or a request to separate and move from the consent agenda item 12A. And so that is granted. We would need a separate motion to divide, after we come back to that item. So it is granted to be removed from the consent agenda. So item 12A will be voted on separately. And there's a motion and a second on everything except for item 12A. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. And we'll proceed. And the motion is carried, but is not unanimous. Now, item 12A, to appoint chair and vice chair of the Public Safety Committee, Jean Mask as chair, and Supervisor Yi Ling Zhang as vice chair. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Fifrick and seconded by Supervisor Robinson. Supervisor Sandalski.
Thank you, Chair. My reasoning for separating...
Now, there won't be any reasoning if you're asking for a motion to separate.
Okay.
You can ask for a motion to separate, but
Okay.
it's not a debatable motion.
Okay, I want to make a motion to separate the chair and vice chair.
Is there a second? Just a second, the clerk has to put the motion into open meetings. Now, is there a second? Second by Supervisor Hardinger. And I will just explain that a motion to separate is not debatable. It does require a simple majority vote to divide the question. And so we will proceed to vote. A yes vote will divide the question and create two separate motions, one for the chair and one for the vice chair. A no vote will allow the item to be voted on jointly. Is everybody clear what they're voting on? And we'll proceed. Supervisor Rosenberg, the clerk has informed me that she may put you in. So if you want to provide your vote now.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll proceed. And the motion to divide is defeated. And so we're back to the original motion for the chair and the vice chair of public safety. The chair to be Jean Mask and Supervisor Yi-Ling Zhang to be the vice chair. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Supervisor Sandalski.
So my reasoning was I was in favor of Supervisor Mask for the chair, but Supervisor Zhang, he doesn't show up for our, he hasn't showed up for our safety, public safety meetings, so that's why I wasn't in favor of him for vice chair. Thank you.
Supervisor Zhang, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start off by just expressing my deep appreciation to my fellow colleagues, even those that have some concerns, and I express my deep appreciation to that as well. I do attend the meetings virtually. I will be very transparent that I do attend them virtually. It's no secret that I ran for assembly this past election, so towards the end, I didn't, towards the fall time period, I didn't attend the meetings, but I do want to be very transparent that changes has been made in my schedule and my life to make sure that I'm in attendance. I also want to be clarify that I take the leadership roles very seriously, such as I do on the Social Services Board and also the Transportation Coordinating Committee, and I attend those meetings almost 100%. I think there's only been one meetings that I missed for the Social Services Board this past year here. So I do want to reassure this board here that the concerns that they have had is being addressed, and I appreciate the supervisors that does have concern with me in my attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Looking for Supervisor Ungerer and Supervisor Foote. Supervisor Foote, thank you. Supervisor Ungerer, thank you, and we'll proceed. And the motion is carried, but is not unanimous. Moving on to the Environmental Resources and Public Safety Committee, amending Section 12.01, Parent 2, and 12.04 of the Marathon County General Code of Ordinances, Ordinance 0-5-25. Motion by Supervisor Zhang and seconded by Supervisor Mask. Supervisor Robinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In your packet, you have an amendment to 12.04. It's embodied into the draft ordinance, and that amendment was a result of concerns that were raised by Dean Beck, town chairman from the town of Easton, relative to local input and covering police and fire costs associated with it. So the amendment was, the ordinance was amended in two different locations, one to deal with fire protection and one to deal with the local, and allowing them to, or requiring the organizers to consult with the local units of government as part of the permit process, which we think they were looking for. And I believe this has been shared with Mr. Beck, and he is in support of it as amended. We would have the Corporation Council explain, but I think I'm his mouthpiece tonight because he's got laryngitis, and I think I'm going to be joining you shortly. So with that, I would move to amend the ordinance pursuant to the draft that's in your packet on page 4 and page 6.
Okay, just a second. I'll have the clerk put the amendment in. All right, we have the amendment in. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Rosenberg. Any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on the amendment. And we'll proceed. And the motion is carried, but is not unanimous. And we'll move on now to the resolution, excuse me, the ordinance as amended. Any discussion? Okay, any discussion on the ordinance 12.01 parent 2 and 12.04 as amended, ordinance 0-5-25? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Supervisor, thank you. We'll proceed. And the motion is carried, but is not unanimous. And we'll proceed on to resolutions from Human Resources, Finance and Property Committee and the Public Safety Committee to one, abolish one FTE, Senior Administrative Specialist, and create one FTE, Human Resources Specialist position in the Sheriff's Office. This does not facilitate, or is not, there's no budget amendment attached to this resolution, and so it is a simple majority, Resolution 1-25. Motion by Supervisor Mask and second by Supervisor Marash. Any discussion? Any discussion? All right, we will proceed to vote. Supervisor Hoppe, please vote. And we'll proceed, and the motion is carried. And now we are down to miscellaneous announcements and/or requests. I have two announcements, and both of them pertain to the Executive Committee. An email of the priorities for the Administrator's Work Plan in Qualtrics survey will be going out sometime this week. Again, that is for the Executive Committee to review those priorities and prioritize each of those items in the work plan and forward that survey back. Also, for the Executive Committee, an email was sent out on January 10th by the Corp Counsel, Michael Pierner, to assist in doing the administrator's eval. Please complete that evaluation and send that back in, hopefully by the end of this month, so that those summaries can be made. Any other announcements and/or requests? Okay, seeing none, we're down to the infamous motion. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Langenhahn and seconded by Supervisor Marash to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and please try to stay warm.